This is the Town of Madison Conservation Commission meeting of January 2, 2025. Calling the meeting to order. I don't believe we need to elevate Ted because we have a quorum. So, public comment? I don't think we need. Oh, approval of the minutes. This is going to be interesting. Any comments on the minutes?
I found parts of it to be confusing, but I didn't bring I don't have it written down, so.
It's attached here.
They're attached to
the minutes are right here.
agenda.
Oh, yes, they are. I guess my concern was about all the warrant article things, and I just wanted to clarify that we had 3 warrant articles.
Okay.
One for getting $10,000 for operating expenses out of the forest management account.
Right.
One to ask for, is it 5,000 or 8,000 from the capital reserve?
We're not doing the 5,000. Mike made a motion to not do the.
We're not asking for it to go in, we're asking for it to come out. We're not asking for a donation this year from the town, we're
Right,
asking
right there,
to,
the motion, right there.
to,
Motion by Brooks that the commission put forth a warrant article to withdraw and not to exceed $5,000 from the capital reserve account for the purposes of land acquisition and conservation purposes.
okay, great, and then the third one would be the one for $500 for, to see if we can fund an educational program.
Yep, it was
for the summer.
$500 right there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Okay, so that's, I
Okay,
think the
the-
discussions about that, but that, it doesn't matter, because those are are the results of the discussion.
Okay. I make a motion, we approve the agenda, the minutes, December 4 minutes. Need a second? Okay, all in favor?
All the same, I
You.
wasn't here.
Okay.
I wasn't here, so I can't vote.
All right,
Do we, but we don't have, that's not a quorum to vote?
all right. Let's see, then if we elevate Ted,
It's still not enough.
still not
All
a,
right.
We'll
Yeah,
have to do
All
it
right.
next week, next month.
So I'll have to do them at the next meeting, February.
You could still approve minutes even if you weren't there. I mean, just saying, I'm the town, I'm the moderator, so I'm
all right, we can cycle through the minutes next meeting. Okay. Public comment? No issue. Old business. Tim may or may not be here, but he sent a note on the spongy moth. The impact has been greatest on Jackman Ridge, patching mortality. I plan to look at it after leaf out this spring to see if anything can be done to salvage / harvesting. It's not really as bad as what happened up in Washington Valley, but it still may warrant some work and response. So that was his response on the spongy moth. Okay, interesting topic we're going to talk about. You guys want to give us an update?
Oh, on where we are with the project.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, it's an act of patience, these projects, as you're probably learning and you've experienced on the
Okay.
project. So we officially got the landowner to agree to an extension because the due diligence stuff just wasn't ready, and a lot of it
Right.
was because of
Sure.
them failing to authorize things and then falling through the cracks. So that was the biggest change as we got more time. Now we're still shooting for, because of the involvement of so many agencies with funding and they're needing to review everything, all the documentation and everything, we're still trying to wrap up things, have as much of this stuff ready, somewhere in the June period, you know, there's
Okay.
two major surveys, one including subdivision that has to still happen. And, you know, we have a environmental site assessment as well along, and
We should be getting,
we
that
should be
in
getting that
hand soon.
very soon. So, I mean, I think we're working on our, what is called baseline documentation report that
Okay.
you know, there's existing conditions. So we've got a lot of stuff that's in pretty good shape, and fortunately, our funding has gone very well, so we're in good shape with that. So it's mostly just these things take time.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think everything is in a good place, really.
Okay, good. Well, Linda sent an email just before year end, answering some questions I had about the schedule and timetable and all that. In terms of, there is a time phase here where there is a need for a 120-day review period.
That was wrong, it was 12 weeks, sorry. So
12.
it's 3 weeks. 3 months.
3 months. That's 120 days anyway.
More like 90 days.
Yeah, 90.
90 days. Oh, sorry.
That
You're
was
right.
me.
Okay, so that's 90 days. So the issue is the easement. If that is required before the closing, we're talking about the need for the easement to be negotiated at a time period around the June timeframe, July?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought we had all the time in the world to deal with. So now we've got an issue where, in order to keep the schedule, the easement has to be negotiated before closing. And I was anticipating it was an item that was a closing item. So this is very helpful understanding this particular issue. So we have an understanding with, we've created an understanding with the selectmen that we were not going to spend any money for legal fees until the deal was certain. So that was the understanding that we had, because there's concern about spending money and the deal doesn't happen. And so the issue is resolving issues related to whether or not the deal is going to happen. So I'm suggesting that we try to respond to that criteria or that condition by you submitting a letter saying that you have the financial capacity to close, and that is between fundraising and the grant or whatever it is with the other organization. Also, that you also need to indicate that the timing of the easement needs to be done well before closing because of the review process that is required. So I'd like to get a letter from you indicating those things are a fact, and that it's just a lapse of time that really is the issue, as opposed to whether or not it's feasible or something happens, falls off the cart kind of thing. So I think that's important for us to have a conversation with the selectmen indicating that we're going to engage the attorney sooner than later. And that is the current understanding that we have with the selectmen. So that's important.
I'm sorry, are you concerned that the deal won't go through because we won't come to an agreement with the easement?
No.
Or because of the funding?
Now, just because the timing of it, if what we would have done with our prior understanding is like the financing is all taken care of. So it's just, and everything is and a closing date is set. We then engage the attorney and call it a month ahead of time or some time period ahead of time, And within that time period, we negotiate the easement. So that was the plan. Now, with the notice provision that you've got here with respect to the review period, obviously from various organizations, we have to move that forward. So I'm looking for some substantiation for us to modify our current understanding.
Yep.
Okay, so that's important that we do it sooner than later.
Absolutely.
That's good. And I mean, we're, obviously what our wild card has been possibly the landowner changing his mind and things falling apart that way, and you know, they've signed an agreement where they can't back out of it. It has to be for other reasons than them changing their mind, and there are no other reasons that are appearing here. And we do have the funding, so we would be confident in being able to make that statement that it's.
Use terms like highly confident and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of, I think we have to be in a position to engage on this situation sooner than what I anticipated.
And just so you know, I'm feeling like, with all the requirements from LCHIP and Drinking Water Groundwater Trust Fund and the Forest Service components that they need, language they need to see in the easement and or the fee deed that transfers the property to us, they all want to have their little language just the way they want it. And it's getting beyond my ability to deal with that, so I'm ready to send this off to our attorney at any moment too.
Right.
It's time for us to spend money on an attorney to make sure that we're crossing all the i's, crossing all the t's, dotting all the i's. And he, in our experience in working with him, his name is Rob Levin, he's very good. He's a well-respected land conservation attorney in Maine. And he actually looks at an easement from both sides, from the easement holder side as well as the landowner side, and he makes suggestions to make it good for both parties. So we've used him for quite a few transactions, and especially these bigger, more complicated projects where we have to deal with all these other entities. He'll be able to help us with that too.
So are you suggesting we use them as well?
No, that
No,
would be
we-
conflict of interest.
No, we're not gonna use the same, we're not gonna use the same attorney, sorry.
That has
That-
happened
that
on
isn't gonna
very
happen.
simple transactions.
Yeah,
One
right.
side
So-
said, no, I'll.
But where you said he does
no,
both
it's not-
sides, I
not
didn't know
even
if you
fair.
were
No.
suggesting that he look at both sides and give input.
He'll look at both sides and make recommendations, but in,
can only
to
represent.
avoid conflict of interest,
He can only
we
represent.
recommend that you have your own attorney.
Right,
Right, we are gonna have our own attorney, we're not gonna be relying on your attorney,
no, but do
Okay.
you understand what I was just saying?
no.
Okay. And do you think it's important to have a land use attorney, or do you think just any attorney will do?
Oh my goodness.
No.
If you've got an
So
attorney
you know
in
who
mind
knows.
that has, well, conservation easements are more difficult than just straight up land transactions. If you know of an attorney that has experience with conservation easements, like
I mean, there's
Cooper Cardinal Chains.
good local firms. And I know you mentioned
Oh.
Tom Maslin in the past, obviously.
I guess he's
He's
retired.
He's
retired.
down, yeah.
I guess he's
Our
retired.
attorney,
He's
I
retired,
Oh,
I know.
think we're gonna,
They're not supposed to do that.
we're gonna be going with our attorney. He
Yeah.
isn't, he has indicated a willingness to
Good.
undertake the assignment, and
that
has
was
given
good
us
to
an
have
estimate.
Tim Nolan weigh in.
Right.
Right.
Said you
Yeah.
had to look at this.
So we're, and I think he's sophisticated enough to deal with this
Yeah.
particular issue.
So
So-
the money that you've raised, we needed 1.4 million, or we needed more than that
For the purchase price?
for the package, for your?
No, well, the
The
budget
total.
got up,
It was 1.25 million.
1.75, is that what
Yeah.
what I saw?
And the money is there, and it's,
So they've raised 1.75.
yeah.
I thought it was 1.25.
It was.
It went up, we were looking at all of the, you know,
The
some
other
of the
contingencies.
improvements and stuff, and so, and we've had very good success, so it's,
Where are you as far as commitments?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we have to submit all of what they call due diligence, including the baseline and the easement and the
Okay.
environmental hazard assessment, and then it gets reviewed, and as soon as everybody's happy with everything, they send us the money.
Do you have the subdivision layout locked down?
There's a conceptual, but it's still got to be brought to the planning board. That's, Bergeron Technical Services is doing that, so we
Okay.
should be hearing from them soon, I would hope so.
Sounds like a lot of money versus $750 for the purchase.
Well, we had to increase the purchase price to sweeten the pot to get
Okay.
them to extend the closing date. And
And the
In-
land was actually appraised higher.
Yes.
Than, so,
he was giving us what they call a bargain sale, but now it's full price. And included in our forest, community forest fund grant was a suggestion that we'd be building accessible trails and a trailhead and a kiosk, and that cost money too, so we built that into the budget because that was the one item they pulled out of the whole grant application, said, oh, and we're giving this, they were publicizing the fact that we're gonna be doing this great trail, so we're gonna be doing a nice trail and trailhead to help get people out on the property too.
All right.
Where's this trailhead gonna be?
right off Forest Pines.
Do we have permission to cross railroad tracks, or is it gonna be trespassing?
There is, it is what it is, and I've talked with the rail bureau, and I think everything is going to be fine with there. Yes.
So that's in writing, it's criminal trespass, and there's no ways what it is with trespassing.
Yeah, I'm a land surveyor, and I dealt with them, so I'm not worried. I talked with the guy who was the bureau chief, and we talked about stuff. We'll get it more nailed down, yeah, so.
All right, so in your letter, explain the issues related to the various grant people and their due diligence requirements and things of that nature. So that will be helpful to us. All right. We did a review of the agreement on November 7th. The review is incomplete, so we need to deal with it again. And essentially, we've dealt with a whole bunch of comments about where we are, what our feelings are about the draft that we've received. I was hoping we would have more people here today so we could set up a second meeting. It looks like it's going to require more than 2 meetings. It's going to probably require 3 or 4 meetings for us to get through all of the issues and finally reach an agreement. Because where we are now is very preliminary. We've gone through a portion of the agreement, but we set a timetable of around 2 hours, and that was not sufficient to go through the whole thing. So we're going to schedule. How about we pick February before the next meeting for a 2-hour meeting before it?
So when are you looking? Next meeting?
And
Six.
we just find out, and let's make a request for people to indicate whether or not they're able to come. So this is a workshop that we're doing, and we'll present to you what our findings are. So we'll give you a list or a markup of the draft. And obviously, there are going to be changes because you got the LTIP and you got various comments from various grantees and all that. So it's, again, preliminary, but we want to get moving now a little faster than what I anticipated. I thought we had all the time in the world, basically.
Is there any updated language that we can get before the meeting that we're gonna have to look at?
Oh, I'm having trouble getting that right now too, but
Well, let's work with the draft.
I'll try.
We started with one draft, let's work with that same draft. And there's gonna be changes. So let's not try and get a new draft and start all over again. So we're gonna work with the draft dated this is with Tim's comments.
Because we still have to get the old chip language and all that.
Well,
We don't have
yeah.
any of that yet. That was to be determined, remember?
All of that.
Yep.
It's, Tim, it's labeled on the top corner. I think you sent this to us, so, and Tim sent it to you.
Yes,
Right.
So it's,
that's the last one I've seen, and that was
it's
September.
September 30.
Yeah,
And we're working with that particular draft,
okay.
all right? So let's get see whether we can collect.
What days do you want me to try to schedule? So we're looking
Here's-
at,
here's
our
the-
meeting's the 6th.
Okay, well, let's try and get people to respond and ask them to indicate whether or not they're available.
Do you have any certain dates in mind?
Yeah,
Which dates do you want to do, like the beginning, a couple days before the meeting? Or?
no, just before the meeting.
Oh, it's the 6th, the day of the 6th, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry.
Right, so it would be two hours before.
So it's,
What date are you saying now?
that's
The
the
6th
February
of
6th.
February.
So that'd be at 2:30.
2:30, yes. That
I'll
seemed to
send
be
out an email.
agreeable the last time with more people indicating willingness to come. All right, so Linda, this was very helpful in terms of understanding what's going on. All right,
So you want us to be there and we'll look at stuff together then, or you're doing?
no,
it
it's just,
yourself?
my preference is that
You're doing.
You
it
do your
internally.
thing.
we're doing our thing.
Fine.
Right. Okay, anything else that you want to talk about in terms of where we are?
Very grateful
I
for
don't
your
think,
support.
but, again, this is a community forest project, and so
Right.
we're kind of on the same team here, so we'll make this work better.
Well,
So,
we've got a bunch of changes on the drafts, so we've got a bunch of issues we want to talk with you about. So I don't want to go through it now because we'll be talking for a couple hours.
Yes, right, understood. That's good.
And you don't happen to have the draft in front of you, so.
Yeah. So do you want us to be here for the meeting next month, or you want to wait?
If you'd like to come, if you have other news, if you have no new news,
Then,
probably isn't
yes.
a need.
All right.
And I don't even know whether we're meeting in February on
Oh,
this
okay.
particular issue, because I don't know
Send
how
out
many
an
people are
email.
gonna
Well,
respond.
be sure to let us know when you need us again.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to drop that ball.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And, all right,
All right,
very good.
that's that.
Well,
Thanks,
you.
thanks again.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Yep. And I'll get talking with the railroad about that crossing, but thank you for. Okay.
Yeah, I just know it's been a concern in other
Yeah,
projects.
they're not easy to deal with.
No, not at all.
But
Right.
there's like three
Property.
other legal crossings there that aren't being used,
Just
and the
let
one that is, this
Take
doesn't
its
have
course.
the
I keep it on
the
there,
rights,
but-
but,
Right.
so
Yeah,
we need
we
to
have to
make
get
a
the
deal
draft.
with them.
Warrant article.
Yep.
We'll abandon the other three, and
Can't spell it.
Remind him who gave him the property.
that's right. I know, you had a unique situation with the town over there.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks again.
thank you all.
Bye, Doug. Thank you. Bye-bye. So,
I was surprised when I saw that 1.75 number.
All right, so let's see, what's next? The,
digital advertising is off the table now because they cut that off the budget, so.
Right.
$500 came out. And then, I don't know what we'll do for the water testing for next year, because they raised, Green Mountain's raising their fee, but the selectmen cut the extra fee.
we have to
So.
just tell Green Mountain that
You can only
the,
give what we have been giving.
yeah, there we
Yeah,
go.
they cut the $165 off, which they're gonna go up in 2025, $165 more for the water quality testing.
Oh, I see.
And the select board cut that fee.
And then you said they cut the $500?
Digitalizing of,
Oh,
not the scholarship, the
Oh,
digitalizing, but you were gonna do the,
I did.
okay, perfect, I wanna
I
click
just
that.
wanted to run the wording by everybody to be
Okay.
sure that we're happy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just make
Okay.
sure I.
I thought the digitizing was a valuable thing in terms of giving greater access to the,
No.
to our files, because it's in a book located upstairs, and I thought that anybody who wanted to understand about any one of the properties could go on the computer and,
Let's take it out of the, let's increase our not to exceed $5,000 to not to exceed $5,500 and take it out of the capital reserve fund.
well, I think they're looking for the reduction.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we can play games with that. So
Yeah.
if there is excess in the,
I wish George was here.
in the chain of ponds issue, maybe there's some money
There
there,
be some money left.
and maybe we could accomplish it anyway.
If not, there's always next year.
Well, and, yeah, that's true, I mean,
Okay,
Especially if we're gonna have the chain of ponds done this year.
they don't go into that.
It'll go into that
right.
next year, so.
Okay.
All right.
New business.
There are two property that need to be reviewed.
Mike, Mark, you have, someday when you have your property review ready for me.
What,
Well, let's work with a date. When do you think you can do it?
the master plan update?
No, the property reviews that you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't really know if I can get out there and do that. That's a huge piece of property,
Yep.
so.
That's why I kind of thought we should rotate them and have somebody professional do it, because it's true, I can't do it. I mean, I told Joy I'd help her, but I never signed up to do any big properties because I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So,
I
Well,
mean,
the idea is to take Tim's work and to see what's in the file now and make the modifications from basically Tim's work. So I don't view it as you have to go and walk the property and everything else unless there is an issue and we bring it up to Tim.
but to do it correctly, you're supposed to walk the boundary and dissect it. And
That
then, and then, you know, and you can't tell if there's anything wrong if you don't do that.
We have a report that's done already for all our properties. The idea was, when we digitize it, I was looking for all of the property statements to be updated. We've done many of them. We have 2 left. The idea was to take Tim's information to see whether or not there was any need to modify the existing report. Simple as that.
So read the report without a field?
Tim has done the field work.
On
And
that?
if it's on the various sites.
Not all of them, I don't think.
I don't think he's done that. I was not under the impression that he had.
I thought we were doing it on a rotating basis, but I don't think he's done all of them. And in order, you can do things like you could go to the maps and look and see if the abutters are the same, but you can't really report on the property unless you put your feet on the ground.
One issue that requires changes is that the tax maps have been modified. So you have different,
Abutters?
not maybe different abutters, but
Owners.
different
Owners.
designations for the tax the tax map. The numbers have been modified recently, so we don't have the same number as originally in the file.
I mean, identifying the property on the tax map?
Right. So there's a couple of simple things like that. All right. Well,
And do we, is that report somewhere? That report's in the big book.
No, they're right here. They're all right here. I'm compiling them all together, so they all get done at once. They're all right here. I've got.
I think he's talking about the modifications of the tax map.
Oh,
No, I'm just, do you have the existing report for that
The previous.
property?
I have what? See, I have Tim's reports. I have actually Tim's reports, and people were taking these reports and going and modifying them if there was any change to them. That's what was happening.
Can you send that to me?
Yep, I can send you yours, yep. Yep, I can do that. See, I printed all of Tim's reports out, and then as people were updating the reports, this one is yours, which I'll send to you. I wrote your name on the top so I know whose was what.
You'll send that to me?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I can do that.
Kate, is there a report on the ward parcel from Tim?
I don't think that was part of, that wasn't part, nope, we're not doing that. That was done in '23, that was an NA.
So that one stays as is?
Yeah, they were only doing, Tim does some of these, and then some of these were farmed out to people, so I have a list here of ones that we were not doing, because he did them in '23.
Okay.
And so those were all modified, the ones that were done in '23?
Tim has modified them, so
So,
Has Tim walked that property?
I assume so.
Yeah.
I think that's what we hired him to do every 3 years,
Yeah.
to rotate the properties over a 3-year period.
Right.
Yeah, he
That
does.
he
And we
would
have a
go in and
conversation,
do.
we have a conversation which establishes his property reviews for the current year. So we have a list, and we work the list.
And then the other years, you know, people can do them just to. but-
Okay.
But officially, they're done every 3 years. So that covers us for the statute requirement, as far as I believe. Because we have to show that we're monitoring the properties in order to do our job as being the easement on the property holder. What's still not determined is which are town properties and which are conservation properties. That makes a difference as far as who gets the resources from those properties. I know I've brought it up a few times and we haven't done it.
Okay, let's go on to new business.
Yeah, I do. Oh, Mike came.
Let's see, it's,
We can see him join.
Marcia, we're gonna expect something for you in
Yes.
due course.
I just did this very simply, but I wanted, thinking it would give us the most flexibility with how we spent the money, but it may be, you may think it's too broad. I just said, to see if the town of Madison will raise and appropriate $500 for summer educational, summer environmental or educational programs for Madison students. Thinking that we could then either send somebody to camp, or we could take the money and do programs through the rec department, or something
Okay.
like that.
Do you wanna send that on to Kate?
Do you want me to read it again, or you all think it's okay?
Just yeah, if they're okay with it, then just email it to me.
good to me.
I'll get it to Linda.
Yeah,
I
very,
just thought,
very
rather
simple,
than,
thank you.
rather than saying to a camp or to a thing, just,
Right.
okay. I'll give it to you, Kate.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Joy,
get that to
Joy
Linda.
is not here. However, we had the planning board.
We have planning board that hasn't met because we didn't meet New Year's Day, for some reason.
I wasn't coming.
And it's the chair's understanding that the selectmen or the budget committee or whomever cut our requested budget for a master plan review. And so that's what, I actually have scheduled a meeting with the selectmen on Tuesday, but the master plan, the foundational document that statutorily needs to be updated, and you have thinly staffed both town employees and boards, and you know, it needs to be done. And I don't know if it's $80,000 or $100,000 or what it is, but it needs to be addressed. And I don't care if people think it's good or think it's bad. Put it in a discussion in front of the town and let the town vote on it. I mean, you're not gonna hurt my feeling if you say yes, you're not gonna hurt my feeling if you say no. But either do that or you end up hiring attorneys because your regulations are outdated. Attorneys only went up to $250 an hour.
55.
255. So,
That's a cheap one.
It is, very cheap.
I know. Mine's $400 an hour.
Yeah, that's about the going.
so, you know, it's what the town wants. It's what the town's idea. I think in the last 20 years, there's been a huge, a sea change in the town and in real estate in general, and development in general. So, real estate prices, short-term rentals, other kind of development pressures. So, do we want to plan for it, or we want to sit back and say, oh,
I have a lot of things like out the school budget. Major issue.
so,
Can we revisit the digitizing of the town reports a little bit more in that, now that Mike is here, but if we increased that warrant article to 5,500 from the capital reserve fund to give us the option of digitizing them, that's not increasing the budget. It's money that's already in an account. It's not like we're asking the town for more money. And I just thought that we'd be able to do it. And I agree with you, Ralph. I think it's important that we get it done. It sort of feeds into what Mark's saying about, making things more accessible and getting them more streamlined and getting things up to date.
well, this is a statutory requirement that
Right.
we're,
Right.
and,
But
and
the
it was
master
all
plan-
sort of fine and good until there was a couple people in town that were chirping at the planning board because it hadn't been done. So, it's a whole lot of
Well,
work.
It was a big deal a couple years ago, for sure.
So, but, no, it's a whole big deal now, but
Right.
we haven't done a master plan. We haven't asked the town, but, it's gonna cost money.
And aren't these the kinds of things, help me understand why the capital improvement plan, is it just the capital improvement plan wasn't kept up to include things like this? Or, I thought that was the idea, that it would kind of
The
smooth
planning
things
board
out.
worked really hard doing a very good capital improvement
We
plan
did have a good one.
that was totally ignored.
Never followed.
And, you expect, again, a thinly represented board. It's not like we got 10
Right.
people on the board. We've got hopefully a quorum, not always a quorum,
Right,
that are totally uncompensated. You get what you pay for sometimes. But, you're not gonna expect your board to spend a whole lot of time doing a capital improvement plan when you pull in the backyard and there's this great big yellow tank that was never even on the capital improvement plan. And it's like, well, there's your monument to a capital improvement plan.
right. I
So,
know.
What do you want, selectmen?
People spend
It's
a
a
lot
little
of time
bit
working on
deeper
it.
than that too, though. Town meeting's done it too.
Yes,
They voted yes on things that were not recommended because they weren't on the plan, and they voted for them anyway, so.
Yeah.
There's certainly enough overspending blame to go around.
yeah. But,
It's right,
But-
because when that was first brought to the town and the town set it up, there was a lot of work that went into that.
yeah,
And I just never understood, we would get the paperwork to fill out from time to time in conservation, but I just never understood why it just didn't work as well as it has in other towns.
I don't know if it's actually worked in other towns, or maybe there are towns without a town meeting that have a town council or kind of government.
More of administrative, yeah.
But you go to town meeting and some years they vote for everything and some years they vote for nothing. So,
Yeah.
I always thought you should send tax bills the week before town meeting.
Mike will say, no, don't do that to me.
Oh, no, I didn't. Suppose you could on the first half, it's just an estimate. It's a short turnaround.
Here it is. You can still make it due,
Right, it has to be due after July 1st, but.
but
Okay, your comment?
So, yes, do we think that we should increase that line item, that warrant article to 5,500 in order to get the digitizing done? Because it's not asking the town for more money, it's taking money out of an account that we have set up to make ourselves be more efficient and serve the town better.
Does that 5,000 still show in the bottom line budget? Where it's not raised by tax appropriation?
It wouldn't, it would show on the balance sheet because it is in a fund already.
Right.
But it's still taxpayer dollars
Right,
At
but
one
it's,
point.
in a different,
Yeah.
same pair of pants, different pocket.
but it's not raising it this year.
That's right. But
Yeah,
once
but
you,
it's been
once you
raised.
spend it, it's gone.
Right. You don't have it for down the road.
Right. But the reasons that we would spend on a capital improvement are being dissipated greatly by the Chain of Ponds project being completed. I mean, that money was always with that in mind as well. And where real estate's doing what it's doing, is the chance of us having that $50,000 to buy a piece of property is probably not realistic.
Well, let's leave things the way they are, and let's hope that we can accomplish it for less than 5,000, and it gives us a window to undertake it.
Maybe we can just use some of them and not all of them.
Well, you probably want to turn the whole thing over and once and done kind of thing. It's always more expensive to go back and forth. So, let's hope for that. In terms of any administrative correspondence?
Nope, I told you about the spongy moth, Mike, you missed that. About the spongy, you had the question about the spongy moth. So, Tim responded back to me and said, the impact has been greatest on Jackman Ridge, patchy mortality. I plan to look at it after leaf out this spring and see if there's anything to be done in the way of salvage harvesting. It is not nearly as bad as what happened up in the MWV, but still might warrant some work/response. So that was your
So
answer.
it's basically waiting for the spring budding,
Yep,
Right.
make a judgment call then.
yep.
And,
If you want to see what that looks like, I'll walk you around my property.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, that area,
It looks really crappy before and it looks really crappy after.
and I requested people to show up 2 hours early on the next.
Didn't hear that.
meeting.
Workshop meeting on the 6th at
Oh,
2:30.
January?
February.
No, February, 2:30. Like we did the last time we came downstairs at 2:30.
Okay.
Okay, just so you know, I'll
long as
remind you.
I'm still drawing breath, I'll be here.
I hope you are.
All right,
Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Oh,
okay. We're sending out an email indicating whether, asking for people to
I'll
come.
send it out
So
Monday.
we'll see.
And the new purchase price is 1.75, which is what they've raised.
for the chain of ponds.
How did that happen?
I guess they have to renegotiate. Crow originally was doing a bargain sale. And then, you know, there's different kinds of easements, then one is a bargain sale where you get a tax benefit by selling it for less than the appraised value. Well, then he changed his mind and wanted the full value. So the price went up on the land. And then with all the other surveys and other due diligence that had to be done, it just kept adding up, so now they're at 1.75. I don't know what the purchase price is now, because it was, what, 750, but now it must be much higher.
Yeah, they haven't disclosed anything to me.
And does this have a potential of falling apart?
No, well, I mean, it does no, they said that the only way it would fall apart is if Crow didn't sign a piece of paper, which he now has signed, which he cannot now back out of.
Extension.
So now it's done.
Okay, which we haven't seen that piece of paper, so we don't know. Okay, in terms of the account balances.
I don't have
The
it.
statement didn't come.
Not yet,
I
'cause
don't.
it's only the
we-
second.
I don't think we had any disbursements
No.
during the
No,
month, so.
No,
The balance that is reflected, some of it is.
yeah, I don't have.
So we'll have an
everything.
update on that.
I'll have
Okay.
it, I'll have it in the next meeting.
Okay.
They haven't sent out the statements yet, so it kind of crossed.
Well, who hasn't sent out this thing?
All
The
right.
bank.
I got my statements all
Well, aren't
balanced.
you lucky?
Got my W-2s out.
Oh, good for you.
Well, there's probably a couple of changes. The interest that we receive is
Right, they all
$1.75
change.
or something like
Yeah.
that. So,
Dollars a lot.
And I haven't heard
So-
from Kathy on the capital reserve account yet either, so
Okay.
December kind of is just, we'll be on the next, we'll be on the February.
okay. But there's no transactions that we're aware of.
acres?
Okay, with that, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Yes.
So how many acres in Chenapon? 6.25?
625, yeah.
Of undevelopable land for 171.75 million.
Well, I think close to probably 75,000 is,
Okay, we adjourn, so.
Caution,
Asia.
we're done. We're done, sorry, hon. We're done, shut her off.
And turn the video
It's
off
legal
before we
stuff.
say something we can't take back.
I think the rest is legal stuff.
We're done. Yep, we adjourned.